Hi, I'm Dr. David Dobson. Welcome to Conversations. Today, my guest is Dr. Kiran Pedada. Kiran is an assistant professor of marketing at the Asper School of Business at the University of Manitoba. Kiran's research is on marketing strategy with a focus on the financial and social impact of marketing and emerging markets. Kiran earned his PhD in marketing from the Ross College of Business at Texas Tech University. Today, we will discuss his research on the impact of recruiting rural women micro entrepreneurs on consumer acquisition and value delivery. It's a great pleasure to have you on my show, Kiran.
Thank you, David. Thanks for the invitation, and I'm honored to be on your show.
Kiran, you successfully worked as an engineer and consultant, and then in your 30s, you embarked on your PhD journey. Can you share why you chose a career in academia?
Yeah, thanks, David, once again for your invitation. So this is a very interesting question, actually. I spent about 8 years in the corporate before joining my PhD program. I would say it was a very accidental thing in the sense that as you mentioned, I worked in engineering and management consulting and corporate strategy. So I was working for a very large infrastructure company, which was part of the Satyam group. In 2009, Satyam crisis happened because of the problems at the company. So that time, in fact, all of us in the corporate strategy department and many other departments, we lost our jobs, right? So in 2009, actually, I was jobless. I used to get a few jobs, but they were not matching my interests. Okay. And I was sort of jobless for about 10 months. And during that time, given that I was not busy with a job, it gave a lot of time for me to introspect. So I introspected. So what do I really want to do with my life as such? Then I found my calling. So I understood that I'm passionate about teaching. I want to teach. So I started as a visiting, I would say, a visiting teacher, visiting faculty in multiple business schools in India. Nasi Monji Institute of Management Studies, NMIMS, which is an ASCSB accredited business school in India. So I taught there and I taught in a few other business schools. And parallelly, I actually started as a researcher at the Indian School of Business, which was actually set up in association with the Wharton School and Kellogg School of Management. So that's where I got some, research training as well. And I started my PhD at Texas Tech. So that's the background behind me moving from, it was more like accidental, but I think it was the best thing that happened in my life.
Yeah, very, very nice. So now you have your experience. So what is your advice to industry professionals who are in the process of transitioning from industry to academia?
Yeah, that's a very good question again. A lot of people keep asking me this question, David. I spent like 15 years in industry. I want to move to PhD. You also did something similar. You worked in industry and moved. So the suggestion I actually give them is like, most people, when they ask me this question, they're in a dilemma because now they are very well settled in a job. And not only that, they have a family, kids and everything, and leaving that and joining a PhD 5 years, a very limited stipend that we get, etc. So first of all, I tell them about the kind of challenges when it comes to financial and so many other resource constraints, especially when we have families and things like that. So, but if someone really essentially understood that, okay, this is what I really want to do, right? So they have to do it in that sense, right? So Dr. Shelby Hunt always told me that the most important thing for people is to figure out what you really want to do. Okay, so I think that is the most important, and that's the most difficult as well. So once we figure out this is what I want to do with my life, okay, the rest of our life will be, I think wonderful. So if people think that in the corporate managers, they think that, okay, oh, this is what I really want to do. Okay, it seems like I want to get into academy. So now they have like some opportunities. For example, they might collaborate with an academic, right? Like, for example, get access to data, give access to data, and also try to understand the research process. Okay. And or they can also try some kind of opportunities in places like ISB, where there is a program called research assistant RA program, right? So where you can actually learn a little bit about research and things like that. So my suggestion is, find your calling, right? So what you are essentially intrinsically interested in. If academia is something that interests you, I think definitely, I mean, that is the way to take forward. But I think it is definitely you should be prepared to face those sort of short-term challenges for 4 or 5 years. But hopefully, it will be rewarding after that.
And obviously, in that, because this is an important decision, you also want to make sure that your family, in your case,
exactly,
your spouse is with you 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is absolutely correct. Like, in my case, my wife, Divya Spandana, she sacrificed her career actually, right? So she used to teach in a pharmacy college, but when I got my PhD, she moved as a dependent. So she actually gave up her job and came, and we had a baby, and she took care of baby and me and all. So I mean, that is like a huge sacrifice. I completely agree with you. So this is not a easy decision as such in that sense.
And I think also coming from industry, I think industry, we tend to focus on solving the problem, but academia is kind of a shift from problem solving to the theory building.
Theory building. So in fact, I think there is a huge opportunity, David, to sort of balance theory and practice as such, right? Okay. So people, one advantage people coming from corporate, I mean, that's what I actually did when I started my dissertation, is that we can actually try to sort of, apply theory to practical problems, right, that we experienced in our life. And I think, that we were intrigued by and all, right? So there is an opportunity out there. So especially marketing strategy is such a field that we can do. And my research paper is also essentially, it's a sort of a field quasi experiment where we solved a managerially relevant problem with like theoretical rigor.
So then let me ask you my next question. So your research focuses on social impact marketing strategies. Can you share why are you interested in this topic?
Sure. Yeah, David, that's a very good question. Actually, when I started my PhD, so it was very natural transition for me, to work on issues related to joint ventures and acquisitions, because when I was in the corporate, that's what I worked on, right? So after my PhD, I joined ISB, and that's where I made some connections, okay, where I had an opportunity to work on issues that are important for society, right? Like this paper. And it also resonates very deeply with me because growing up, I witnessed the social challenges of, for example, women in villages, right? So I was born and brought up in a very small village, right? So, and, my cousins and aunt, they all had like a lot of social challenges and things like that. So I was very fortunate that I got an opportunity to work on a project and apply my marketing skills to sort of a problem that has a meaningful impact on these rural women. So that, I mean, this project was essentially started at the Indian School of Business, where I was a faculty member before coming to University of Manitoba. And I feel very fortunate that I got an opportunity to work on this project.
Nice. So your recent research investigates the impact of recruiting rural women micro-entrepreneurs on consumer acquisition and value delivery. Can you tell me about this project?
Sure, definitely. So, David, so yeah, this is the project I have been talking about. So, at ISB, I actually I started working with Professor AJ Chauradia. So he is now at University of South Florida, and his PhD student Angela Chatterjee. Now she is a faculty member at IMT Hyderabad. She finished her PhD from ISB and she joined IMT Hyderabad. So I started this project with Angela and Professor AJ Chauradia. And as I mentioned, given that it resonates deeply with me, the topic, I was so much passionate about this particular project. So that's how this project was actually started. And Angela actually has a connection with Digital Empowerment Foundation. So the company that actually supplied the data to us. And collaborated on this project. I mean, not company, essentially, the not-for-profit organization. It's a very large NGO based in India. It was started like early 2000. So so this is how we got this opportunity to work on this problem.
So maybe you can explain for people who don't know who are these micro entrepreneurs, like what kind of business they are in.
Yeah, sure. So, these micro entrepreneurs are associated with Digital Empowerment Foundation. So, Digital Empowerment Foundation was founded by a gentleman called Mr. Osama Manzar in early 2000s. So, he actually felt that a lot of these rural villages from difficult to reach villages, right? So, they live in digital darkness, right? Essentially, they don't know, they have much digital skills, or they don't have access to computers, emails, and these kind of things. So, so he started a program called Suchanapreneur, where that particular program focuses on connecting these rural villages from difficult to reach villages, with the welfare programs offered by the government of India, essentially, right? So, the micro entrepreneurs are essentially the mediators between the welfare program and the rural villages. So, the rural micro entrepreneurs are Suchanapreneurs. Suchana means information. Preneur is entrepreneurship. So information entrepreneurship, essentially. So these information entrepreneurs or micro entrepreneurs, they actually inform about these welfare programs, suitable welfare programs with the rural consumers. And they also enroll them or acquire them into these particular programs. And they make sure that the value is delivered in terms of the amount. So the money delivered to the consumers from the welfare program. Right, yeah.
Nice. So can you share how did you conduct this study? I know you mentioned about some Khasi experimental design.
Right, sure. So actually, the study design is very interesting. In fact, in early 2018, Osama felt that, we need to actually empower women. So therefore, let's try to recruit more women. Because initially, Osama focused a lot on hiring more men and a few women, as micro entrepreneurs. And those few women who were hired, they felt like their self-identity was actually improved. For example, so far I have been known as a daughter or a wife. Now I am known for what I am essentially, right? So and they felt more confident. They felt that they were empowered, right? So Osama was so sort of inspired by this and thought that let me actually recruit more women in the new locations.
Okay.
They started, right? So in the let's say in the old locations, and the women to men ratio is, let's say, is 1:9. In the new location, it was 7:3 or 8:2, right? So that's how, like, the new locations actually saw more women sort of recruitment. So we actually that happened from that happened for 2 months in somewhere in 2018, right? And we got the data 1 year before the event, right? In those locations. So the treatment locations are the locations where the women recruitment happened.
Okay.
Control locations are like, where more men are there. Okay. And then we have like a control treatment, and we also have pre and post data, right? So from January 2017 to December 2019. So we actually applied a difference in differences estimation model and looked at the impact of hiring more women on two dependent variables, essentially. One is on consumer acquisition. In other words, how many consumers that the micro entrepreneur has enrolled on a monthly basis. And then the value delivery is nothing but how much amount is actually sort of delivered through the welfare program to the consumer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So can you share what did you learn from this study?
Yeah. So the learnings are really fascinating, actually, right? So the first learning from the study is that hiring more women, in other words, the treatment locations actually have seen improved consumer acquisition and also enhanced, I would say, value delivery. Okay, so essentially, treatment locations have seen like about 40% improvement in consumer acquisition. So where there were more women, more consumer acquisition happened, right? And also about 60% value delivery in those locations, right? Okay, so when compared to where predominantly men were working. So this is like this particular result is explained by a social role theory. So according to social role theory, women tend to have more communal attributes. Okay, like caring, taking care of family, especially in rural villages in India. Okay, women are actually they take care of the family. Okay, they care for the family and all. So they more they play a sort of a communal role, right? So whereas the men focus on more agentic, right? So essentially risk taking, breadwinning, taking care of the family. So given that women are more sort of service oriented as such, but men have to take care of have other responsibilities. They have to take care of the family, so they're focusing on, like, they're the breadwinners for the family and all. So the one potential explanation is that women tend to focus more on the service, and therefore they delivered more value. And men, they have to invest time in, like, making money for the family as well.
Yeah, I know. I was reading your paper. It says that they deliver, like, I think it says about 25,000 more value.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So essentially, those locations, they have seen, like, the total welfare amount delivered to the consumer was, if you put it in, like, it was about $25,000 US dollars, essentially more. Yeah.
Yeah. So those consumer acquisitions. So this women micro entrepreneurs, the new customers they're acquiring, are they women? Who are these new customers? Because
Okay,
I'm
that's a very
thinking
good
that
question, actually, right? So
yeah,
essentially, in general, women sort of
mm,
acquired more
mm,
consumers in general,
yeah,
and they also delivered more value to consumers in general.
yeah,
At the same time, when
yeah,
compared to
mm,
control locations, the treatment
mm,
locations where women worked,
yeah,
okay, they generated more value to women consumers.
okay,
So, in
okay,
fact, that is also explained by this shared identity theory,
mm,
right? So,
mm,
women tend to understand women problems better.
yeah,
So, therefore, they can deliver better value to
mm,
women,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
and another interesting finding that we have, I think,
mm,
that can have tremendous implications is that
mm,
the benefits of actually a
mm,
sort of an inclusive setting. Okay, so the men who worked in locations where women were also working versus men working in predominantly men locations, right?
mm,
So men working in inclusive settings,
mm,
they actually delivered more value to their consumers
mm,
when compared to men working in inclusive settings. Okay,
mm,
so sorry, men working in predominantly men settings,
okay,
right? An inclusive setting is very helpful. So that is explained by social learning theory.
okay,
Okay, so the men who are working in inclusive settings, they're actually observing other women who are actually, delivering tremendous value to the consumer. So they
okay,
tend to learn from them.
okay,
Okay, and in fact, men working in inclusive settings, they delivered more value to women consumers as well when
okay,
compared to men working predominantly in I would say men locations. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay, nice. So what are the some practical implications of this study?
yeah. So I think this is a great question. I think the practical implications are actually twofold.
Mm,
Okay, one is the implications for I would say organizations.
mm,
Okay, like social enterprises, for example, Digital Empowerment Foundation, like hiring more women entrepreneurs
mm,
is more beneficial. Like you can
mm,
create more social impact,
mm,
right?
yeah,
You can acquire more consumers as well as deliver better value to them in terms of welfare programs and all.
yeah,
And second thing is that an inclusive setting. So in our case, like in the treatment, like a 70-30%, like 70%
mm,
women and 30% women, sorry, 30% men.
mm,
So that is like more beneficial.
okay,
So that is for organizations, and it's not just for not-for-profit organizations, even for I would
mm,
say consumer goods companies like Unilever, etc.
mm,
Okay, so if they want to actually kind of expand in rural markets,
mm,
they can focus on expanding through hiring women micro
mm,
entrepreneurs who
mm,
are like very service oriented, right?
mm, mm,
So the second set of
mm,
kind of stakeholders, I would say, are policymakers, right?
yeah,
So the government itself, okay.
mm,
So you want to actually expand the reach of a welfare program. So you better actually focus more on involving women.
okay, okay,
So because of the communal roles,
mm,
okay,
mm,
they tend to align more with the social cause.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So your research deals with information dissemination, but I was thinking about
dissemination.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm thinking about like micro entrepreneurs think in terms of like people who have a little stall or selling
right.
something. I mean, what about those type of entrepreneurs?
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you
So
know?
these are all those kind of entrepreneurs actually. If you think
Okay,
about it, all
okay,
these micro entrepreneurs, they're
okay,
nothing but retailers.
okay,
So,
okay,
yeah, so they have
okay.
like small like a
Shops.
setup and
Mm,
yeah, right. So
okay,
in fact, consumers come there and even the micro entrepreneurs goes to the consumer and all,
Okay.
right? So yeah, right.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Kiran, what is your advice to researchers who wish to study this topic further? Because I'm sure there is a more opportunity on this topic.
So I think this is a very, I mean, I would say this particular area is in very nascent stage if we think
Okay.
about it, right? And I strongly believe that this area has tremendous potential, right? And I was very fortunate that during my PhD program, I had a very close association with Professor Shelby Hunt. I would say he was the father of marketing theory, essentially, right? So he was a marketing legend. So he passed away in July 2022. Okay, so it was like a very big loss for us. And so I was very fortunate to meet him just 4 days before he passed away. I went to, it was like a meaningful coincidence, I would say. I sat with him for 3 hours. Okay. So the only thing he was concerned about is about the future of the marketing discipline, right? So he mentioned three things. If we need to renew this discipline, we need to focus on three things. One is we need to focus more on indigenous theory development. Essentially, we should have more marketing theories. Okay. In general, we borrow theories from, I would say, econ, psychology, etc. So we should actually develop indigenous theories. And second thing, we should focus on substantive marketing problems, right? Which are like, which can deliver value to, different stakeholders. And the third thing he said is like, we should actually, demonstrate the impact of marketing on society, the social impact, right? So I was so sort of, encouraged and inspired by Dr. Hunt's wisdom, essentially. So in fact, to renew the marketing discipline, I think future scholars should focus on social impact of marketing, and there is tremendous opportunity out there, right? So there are so many these social organizations essentially out there. Okay. They are willing to work with us if we are really serious about these kind of opportunities. And there is even from research point of view, in fact, we have an opportunity to sort of establish causality, like using some sort of experimental sort of methods that we try to do, right? So I think there is tremendous opportunity in this area. If we clearly think about a sort of a substantive problem that can have a social impact. Yeah.
Just want to your association with Dr. Hunt. Was he a PhD supervisor? How do you know him?
Yeah, he was on my committee, dissertation committee. Yeah. So, and I actually I was very fortunate to spend a lot of time outside the classroom with him. So I took his marketing theory class, but at the same time, so he was so generous with his time. I learned a lot from him, like, first of all, what it means to be a good human being. Yeah. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. What is next for you, Kiran?
So that's a very good question, David. So as far as research is concerned, I want to continue to work in this area. So I have 2 other projects that are going on. So where we are doing more deeper exploration. For example, one of the findings from the study is essentially men in inclusive settings, they tend to perform better. Right? So now what we are doing is like, the communication between men and women, if we do online versus sort of a hybrid mode, okay, online plus offline, how these different types of sort of communication modes will have an impact on their performance. Right. So that is one, that is also sort of a quasi-experimental methodology with the same organization. So that we are writing the paper, we have the results now. And we are also looking at other aspects, like, for example, we are looking at issues such as the social class of the micro entrepreneur, how they are sort of impacting the performance and homophily and these kind of aspects. So that is one thing. As far as research is concerned, I think I am going to focus more on this social. This is like in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think this is more like a sort of a self-actualization kind of thing for me. I also have a stream of research focusing on digital transformation, where I look at artificial intelligence acquisitions, etc. And coming to sort of my other interests, I want to write a book, which is an open source book on marketing strategy. Okay. So because nowadays, David, the students are actually spending a lot of money on books and all, right? So, for example, so I want to actually create a sort of a book, that is openly available. It can be accessed across the world. Anybody can sort of use it. So that is one, I would say, big sort of goal I have.
And I know that you also enjoy nature. You love photography and videos. So share some of your interests you are in.
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure I'm a good photographer, but I enjoy nature, so I try to capture the pictures. But I believe, David, nature gives us everything, right? So nature actually gives us relationships. Nature gives us, pretty much everything, essentially, right? So I am trying to understand the nature of nature. So that is something I'm trying to, because nature teaches us a lot, right? So one of my sort of personal interests is sort of search for meaning in life. So the search for meaning in life essentially started when I was 24 years old. When I was going through these kind of disruptions in my corporate, etc. So that's when I started. So that's when I developed interest in this, self-awareness and introspection. So what I'm trying to do is like, blending, I would say, philosophy with marketing. Right. So, in fact, that is one of the reasons why I was very closely associated with Dr. Hunt, was that we could connect on a sort of a philosophical level, etc. Because Dr. Hunt was, like, I would say, god of philosophy of marketing. So.
Thank you so much for your time, Kiran, and best wishes, all the important work you're doing and your writing of your textbook.
Well, thank you, David. I really appreciate it. Once again, thanks for inviting me, and it was great talking to you.